As a couples coach, couples come to me wondering why their marriage isn't working. In this episode, I will share with you the 3 most common reasons marriages aren't working. The first reason is that you're seeing your spouse as the problem. If you see your spouse as the problem, you will put a significant wedge between you and you will grow bitterness and resentment as you enter into the blame game. When we see our spouse as the problem, we blame them for why everything is going the way it's going. It's causing problems everywhere in our mind, and we're constantly criticizing, complaining, nagging, and whining about what they're doing. We become two enemies trying to defend ourselves from each other rather than two lovers being partners in life and building something beautiful together. When you put your attention on your spouse as the problem, you stop being able to see your own contributions. And your own contributions are the only thing you have power over. So they feel what your spouse winds up feeling. And I say you, trust me, this was me for years in my marriage, and I still can do it. I just did it yesterday. So this is universal as what we tend to do when our marriage isn't working. Even if it's 30 minutes of our marriage isn't working, it's usually because we're in the blame game. What winds up happening when we enter the blame game is our spouse feels like we're trying to fix or change them. And what we get is complete defensiveness and resistance. And the very thing that they're doing that may be seriously contributing in a negative way to what it is that you both want in the marriage, what happens is when we start blaming someone, they actually subconsciously dig their heels in more and want to do more of what you're saying is the problem in them. It doesn't work. It only works to create a marriage that doesn't work or create connection, because one of you begins to see yourself as superior. The one who is blaming the other person as the problem begins to see themselves as above the spouse that they see below them. And the moment you begin to become one is above and one is below, your marriage isn't going to work. Now, the second reason I see marriages aren't working is that the couple is avoiding conflict. Conflict is designed to help us grow. It's what creates growth in marriage. And if what happens is, you want to go to the gym, you want to work out your muscles. And so you know that you're going to need to put that muscle in tension in order for it to grow. But for some reason, when it comes to our marriage, when it comes to relationship and the tension rises up, we want to avoid it. We don't see it as the weight that's inviting us to grow and develop our character. And so we wind up starting to resist the tension, and the tension begins to grow and mount up between us, and it becomes this landmine of messy emotions and unresolved conflict and avoided interactions and development that are meant to come out of the tension or the conflict. Growth is produced through conflict. You're either going to grow disconnection or you're going to grow connection, depending on how you show up to the tension. If you avoid the tension, you will grow disconnection. If you embrace the tension and look at it like a muscle ready to develop the very character that both of you need developed in order to grow into a lifetime thriving marriage, then you will grow connection through conflict. When you learn to be in the tension and break through it, it will grow you individually and together. And the third reason I see marriages aren't working is the spouses are talking more than they're listening. If you think about your arguments, you're just talking. And even if you're completely shut down in the conversation, you're still talking nonstop in your head. You're saying the same things over and over and over and over. We get into a fixed mindset. When we're talking, we're trying to convince the other person about what we think we're right about, and that doesn't work. When we're listening, we're actually in a growth mindset, and we're opening our heart and our mind up to new possibilities, into discovering who our spouse is. If we can listen 3 times more than we talk, We would have a thriving marriage because we would be focused on a living day by day, moment by moment in a growth mindset. If you have any of these three things going on in your marriage, or you can see seasons where your marriage wasn't working, or a day that your marriage wasn't working, I'd love for you to share in the comments below which one of these you recognize you were stuck in, and how, and help us see that yes, these three things are what keeps a marriage from working. Thank you so much for joining me. If this video, if this lesson connected for you, would you give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss an episode? I look forward to seeing you next week. Hey, hon.
Yeah.
Is there one of these three that you think was the biggest contributor to the seasons when our marriage just was not working?
My inability not to stay in attention.
You wanted to avoid tension.
Yeah.
And I wanted to avoid, while I can understand why you wanted to avoid it, because I was blaming you. So that would make it easy for you to want to avoid it.